Welcome back, my little monsters. The second annual Wolftail celebration continues tonight, though in a slightly different format from last time. Tonight, we will be within the story. Oh, and what a story it is. One of my favorite ghost stories.
What do you mean within the story?
I'm a scarecrow.
I played Marion.
You're not, Robert. She is not. We have gone over this.
I should be playing the princess roles. I'm the princess. Why didn't you ask me?
Okay, fine. You are Katrina Van Tassel.
Who do I get to play?
Ichabod Crane. Side, you are now Brown Bones. Kick, you are the headless. You play the headless horseman. Can I please start the story?
Yes, thank you.
In the bosom of one of those spacious coves which indent the eastern shore of the Hudson, there is a little valley, or rather lap of land, among the high hills called Sleepy Hollow, which is one of the quietest places in the whole world. From the listless repose of the place.
Boring. Are you seriously going to describe a town for the next 5 minutes?
A drowsy, dreamy influence seems to hang over the land, and to pervade the very atmosphere. Certain it is, for the whole neighborhood abounds with local tales, haunted spots, and twilight superstitions. And the dominant spirit that haunts this enchanted region is known all the country firesides by the name of the Headless Horseman of Sleepy Hollow.
Wait, is this a ghost story?
Yes, it's the Legend of Sleepy Hollow by the great Washington Irving.
Do I die?
Please.
Watch it.
In this by-place of nature, there abode a schoolteacher by the name of Ichabod Crane, who sojourned, or as he expressed it, tarried in Sleepy Hollow. His head was small and flat on top.
Hey.
It's in the book.
Yeah, well, they can see me, so skip it.
Yes, and get to me.
When did we come in?
And me.
Fine. Fine. Ichabod became smitten with Katrina Van Tassel, the daughter of a rich farmer, which meant she was beautiful, but also a brat. She was also already had a suitor. From his Herculean frame and great powers of limb, he had received the nickname of Brom Bones.
Hey, that's me.
That seems off.
He was always ready for either a fight or a frolic, but he had more mischief than ill will in his composition. And with all his overbearing roughness, there was a strong dash of waggish good humor at the bottom.
Wait, why didn't you describe me like that?
Because apparently you have a flat head.
Watch it.
The rivalry came to a head at the annual Van Tassel Harvest Dance. Ichabod borrowed an old plow horse by the name of Gunpowder, and, thus gallantly mounted, issued forth like a knight-errant in quest of adventures. Brown Bones, his own heart set to win the fair Katrina, came to the gathering on his favorite steed, Daredevil, a creature, like himself, full of mettle and mischief. Amongst the food, drink, and merrymaking, Ichabod seemed the clear victor. The lady of his heart was his partner in every dance.
Dance?
Sure.
While Brom Bones, sorely smitten with love and jealousy, sat brooding by himself in one corner.
I win.
Do I still get pie?
I want pie.
Who said anything about pie?
No one! Now, when the dance was at an end, Ichabod was attracted to a knot of the sager folks who sat smoking by the fireside, telling tales of ghosts and apparitions of the land. Tales that quickly turned upon the favorite specter of Sleepy Hollow. The Headless Horseman, who had been heard several times of late, patrolling the countryside and disappearing a moment before crossing the old bridge before the church.
I'm a ghost.
This is scary.
This is stupid. Get back to me.
Joining the dark gathering, Brombones affirmed that on returning one night from the neighboring village, he had been overtaken by this midnight trooper.
I asked him to race me and Daredevil, and we would have won too. But he vanished at the church bridge.
But you survived?
I survived! Hooray!
The revel now gradually broke up, and the late scene of noise and frolic was all silent and deserted. Ichabod lingered behind to speak with the buxom heiress, fully convinced that he was now on the high road to success, but something must have gone wrong.
Marry me?
No.
For he certainly sallied forth after no very great interval, with an air quite desolate and chapfallen.
Dick.
Who could blame me? You have a flat head.
Oh, these women, these women! Could that girl have been playing off any of her coquettish tricks? Was her encouragement of the poor pedagogue all a mere sham to secure the conquest of his rival?
Hey, was that really necessary?
It's the last we hear of you, dear.
We'll be back at the end, right, Bronzy?
I thought there was pie.
It was the very witching time of night that Ichabod, heavy-hearted and crestfallen, pursued his travels homewards. No signs of life occurred near him, but occasionally the melancholy chirp of a cricket, or perhaps the guttural twang of a bullfrog. All the stories of ghosts and goblins that he had heard in the afternoon now came crowding upon his recollection. The night grew darker and darker. The stars seemed to sink deeper in the sky, and driving clouds occasionally hid them from his sight. He had never felt so lonely and dismal. He was, moreover, approaching the very woods where many of the scenes of the ghost stories had been laid. He began to whistle. He thought his whistle was answered, but it was a blast sweeping sharply through the dry branches. Suddenly he heard a groan. His teeth chattered, and his knees smote against the saddle.
I'm the headless horseman!
Not yet. It was but the rubbing of one huge bough upon another, as they were swayed about by the breeze. As he approached the haunted stream, his heart began to thump. Seeing a few rough logs laid side by side that served for a bridge over the stream, he gave his horse a half-score of kicks in the ribs and attempted to dash briskly across. But instead of starting forward, the perverse old animal made a lateral movement and ran broadside against the fence.
I am the headless horseman!
Not yet. Ichabod, whose fears increased with the delay, jerked the reins on the other side and kicked lustily, but all was in vain. His steed started, but it was only to plunge into the opposite side of the road into a thicket of brambles.
I am the headless horseman!
Not yet! The schoolmaster now bestowed both whip and heel upon the starveling ribs of old Gunpowder, who dashed forward, snuffing and snorting, but came to a stand just by the bridge with a suddenness that very nearly set his rider sprawling over his head. Just at this moment, a splash by the side of the bridge caught the sensitive ear of Ichabod. In the dark shadow of the grove, the margin of the brook, he beheld some huge, misshapen and towering. It stirred not, but it seemed gathered up in the gloom like some gigantic monster ready to spring upon the traveler. Ahem. Ahem. Now, kick!
Oh, I'm the headless horseman.
Jesus.
Wrong book. Terror rising to desperation, he rained a shower of kicks and blows upon Gunpowder, hoping by a sudden movement to give his companion the slip, but the spectre started full jump with him. Away then they dashed through the thick and thin, stones flying and sparks flashing at every bound. Ichabod's flimsy garments fluttered in the air as he stretched his long, lank body away over the horse's head in the eagerness of his flight. Just as he had got halfway through the hollow, the girths of the saddle gave way, and had just time to save himself by clasping old Gunpowder round the neck when the saddle fell to the earth, and he heard that trampled underfoot by his pursuer. The goblin was hard on his haunches, and, unskilled rider as he was, he had much ado to maintain his seat. An opening of the trees now cheered him with the hopes that the church bridge was at hand. He recollected the place where Brom Bones' ghostly competitor had disappeared.
If I can but reach that bridge, I am safe.
Another convulsive kick in the ribs, and old Gunpowder sprang upon the bridge, thundering to the opposite side. Now Ichabod cast a look behind to see if his pursuer should vanish, according to rule, in a flash of fire and brimstone. He saw the goblin rising in his stirrups, and in the very act of hurling his head at him, Ichabod endeavored to dodge the horrible missile, but too late! It encountered his cranium with a tremendous crash!
Wait, what?
The next morning, the old horse was found without his saddle, and with the bridle under its feet.
Wait a minute.
In one part of the road leading to the church was found the saddle trampled in the dirt, the tracks of the horse's hooves deeply dented in the road, and the hat of the unfortunate Ichabod, and close beside it, a shattered pumpkin.
Pumpkin pie!
The brook was searched, but the body of the schoolmaster was not to be discovered.
Wait, why was my body never discovered?
It is true, an old farmer who had been down to New York on a visit several days after brought home the intelligence that Ichabod Crane was still alive, and that he had left the neighboring party through fear of the goblin, and partly in mortification at having been suddenly dismissed by the heiress.
Well, of course he was heartbroken. I'm fabulous.
Ugh.
Brom Bones, too, who shortly after his rival's disappearance conducted the blooming Katrina in triumph to the altar, was observed to look exceedingly knowing whenever the story of Ichabod was related, and always burst into a hearty laugh at the mention of the pumpkin, which
Ha!
led some to suspect that he knew more about the matter than he chose to tell.
Pumpkin
Get
pie!
a pumpkin pie!
The old country wives, however, who are the best judges of these matters, maintain to this day that Ichabod was spirited away by none other than the headless horseman of Sleepy Hollow.